Welcome back, everyone, to Tales by the Fire. This week we have another story installment. We will continue The Champion's Quiet and explore Chapter 5. Please sit back and relax. If you enjoy the tale, please hit the like and the subscribe buttons. Feel free to ring the bell to inform you of new content and express your thoughts by leaving a comment below. As always, your presence is welcome and appreciated. The Champion's Quiet. Chapter 5. Scene 1. Hovner was dressed in leather and wore a long black cloak. His dress was rugged, but somehow fancy. He was very tall and slender. Thurston guessed they were actually about the same height. The man moved with grace and elegance. As he slipped past Thurston in the doorway, he lowered the hood of his cloak. This revealed pointed ears and long brown hair. The man had a jawline that men, regardless of the realm they resided in, would have been envious of. Seeing the man in the light, Thurston could not help blurting out, "Are you Fae?" Hovner laughed. "Heavens no, man. I think I'm a little tall to be mistaken for one of the fairy folk." "I apologize," Thurston said. "I'm not from here, and my limited knowledge leaves me looking foolish more times than I care to admit." "It's quite all right, my enthusiastic friend." I hope I can call you friend," Hovner inquired. "I hope so also," Thurston said. Hovner began to stroll around the main hall. He seemed to be taking in the ambiance the inn's main floor had to offer. His eyes caught view of Thurston's spear leaning against a support pillar. His gaze lingered on the staff. Then he spun around and explored more of the room. All of this made Thurston rather uncomfortable. He wasn't sure as to what the protocol was for checking a guest in, especially after hours. "Will you be needing a room for the night?" Thurston asked. "What I will need is a drink," Hovner answered back rather playfully as he spun around again to stare Thurston in his eyes. "I think I can pour us a beer," Thurston said. He felt he understood well enough how the taps behind the bar worked. He had gone to college, after all. "Fodder and folly, my friend. I need some good stuff, something expensive and very strong." Hovner offered a wry smile. "Check behind the bar. Look for something that screams money and class." Thurston felt like a teenage boy raiding his father's liquor cabinet. However, he rummaged around behind and under the bar. The phrase "top shelf" did not apply here at this inn, but eventually he came across something that seemed to be bottled a little nicer than the rest of the beverages. Scene 2. Thurston set 2 glasses down on the counter. The bottle had no label, just a wax seal, and when opened, a scent that made his nostrils flare. Hovner raised one eyebrow. "Ah, excellent. You may yet become a fine bartender." Thurston offered a thin smile. Near as he could tell, it looked like he was serving something akin to a fine bourbon whiskey. They each took a seat, the bar stretching out before them like a negotiation table. The fire snapped behind them, and the inn was otherwise silent. Hovner sipped, exhaled through his nose. "It's not the flavor of the drink, you know. It's everything in the background. It's largely the scent. Just like you." I don't understand," Thurston replied. "Like a fine wine or an oak barrel-aged whiskey. You have an old, finely aged smell about you, sir. The smell of ancient magic. Thurston frowned. Me? Hovner turned his glass gently. Yes, you. I don't know what I am, Thurston said more honestly than he intended. But I didn't ask for any of this. Thurston paused as he realized that actually he may have asked for some of it. He wasn't going to reveal that to his new quote-unquote friend, however. No one ever does. Not really. Hovner leaned in slightly. You are something special, though. You feel it, don't you? Thurston looked away. I've seen it before, Hovner said. Not in this form, mind you, but signs. They hum. The air around you has a tension about it, like it's waiting. Waiting for what? Thurston asked. That's what you'll have to figure out. But may I offer a word of advice, friend? Thurston looked back at him. Be wary of relics that choose their bearers, especially ones with runes that speak in silence. He glanced toward the spear. They're rarely silent for long. There was a long pause. It's the staff's magic that drew you here. Do you know what it is? Hovner shook his head slowly. No, but I know what it isn't. It isn't ornamental, and it certainly wasn't meant to sit beside a tavern pillar. And mostly, it's not what drew me here, my fearless young champion. It is you, your magic. The fact that you have an old, powerful talisman is certainly a bonus, but I did not feel the power of your staff until I was almost at your doorstep. Thurston took a drink and stared into the fire. Do you always wander into village inns and provoke mysterious conversations with strangers? Hovner chuckled. Only on very special occasions. Well, let's cut to the chase, Thurston said. Why are you here? There must be a lot of magic in this vast world. What brings you to me? Why seek me out? Why, indeed, Hovner made the phrase more a statement, not a question. I honestly do not know why I have been compelled to seek out this magic of yours. Great, Thurston muttered. A mystery. Hovner raised his glass. To the world's many truths, and the fools who go looking for them. They touched glasses and drank. Thurston stared off again, knowing he was only really looking for one thing. Her. In the corner of the room, the spear pulsed once, ever so faintly. Scene 3. The door to the kitchen creaked open. Wenna stepped into the room, wiping her hands on a cloth. She had a private, large room upstairs, with a stairwell that led straight down to her kitchen. She had heard a noise downstairs and decided to see if a late-night guest needed a room. This happened rarely, but she appreciated the business. Her expression shifted the moment she saw Hovner, polite but guarded. She gave a slow nod. You're still up, she said to Thurston, but her eyes lingered on their guest. Couldn't sleep, Thurston replied. Our friend here was thirsty. Wenna walked behind the bar, nodding toward the bottle. I see you found something worthwhile. Hovner stood and gave a slight bow. And you must be the caretaker of this fine establishment. Wenna, she replied curtly. A beautiful name for a sharp-eyed woman. I'm Hovner. Wenna did not offer her hand. Are you passing through? Perhaps. Or perhaps I might find a reason to linger for a day or two. She narrowed her eyes. You talk like a poet. That usually means trouble. Hovner grinned. Only for those trying to stay asleep. A brief silence hung between them. Thurston broke it. Do you two know each other? No, Wenna said, but I know of his kind. Hovner tilted his head, amused. You know stories. Not all of them are true. Wenna didn't smile. The dangerous ones. They usually are. Thurston shifted uncomfortably. The tension crackled faintly, like static beneath the floorboards. I should return to my room, Wenna said, finally. Don't stay up too late. You both look like men who might need clear heads tomorrow. If Hovner needs a room, number 4 is open, and the key is there on the hook. We can settle our fees in the morning. For the drinks, also. Of course, fair lady of the inn, I am happy to pay for the rest and libation. She gave one last look to Hovner. Not a threat, not a welcome either, then turned and disappeared back into the kitchen. Hovner let out a long breath. Sharp, that one. I like her. Thurston drained his glass. She's better than you deserve. Hovner laughed. The fire crackled low, and the spear pulsed again. Scene 4. Morning came slowly with pale light slipping through the high windows of the inn. Thurston woke in his bed, the smell of ash and old spirits still clinging to his clothes. His sleep had been light, haunted more by questions than dreams. Downstairs, the inn had begun to stir. A few regulars filtered in for morning bread or a warm drink. Wenna moved from table to table with a quiet efficiency. Her eyes were tired but alert. Thurston emerged from the stairs. Rubbing his shoulder, he dreamt of the staff, of runes glowing like coals and whispers in a language he couldn't place. It left a strange weight in his chest. Wenna spotted him and nodded him toward a half-cleared table. Eat something, she said. You look worse than usual. Thurston managed a tired smile and took a seat. As he ate, he overheard a group of men speaking in low tones near the window. He was an elf. Could you tell if he was a dark elf? I couldn't tell, but he left the inn very early this morning. Thurston didn't turn to face them. He looked at Wenna, who gave no sign she'd heard any of it, but she lingered near the bar longer than necessary. Outside the inn, the wind picked up. Somewhere out there, this world was changing. People felt it, and even Thurston could feel it. Something told him he was part of it. A stranger in a strange land, but somehow linked to its future. Scene 5. The midday sun had risen, but Thurston remained near the Hearth's Inn, seated and unmoving. He stared at the staff now, propped in the corner, its polished wood and gold tips catching motes of dust in the slanting light. something about it felt heavier today. Not physically, but in meaning, in intention. He stood and crossed the room slowly. As his hand wrapped around the staff, a tremor moved through his body, subtle and strange. The runes flickered once, then went dark. "You felt it again, didn't you?" Hovner's voice came from a table near the wall. He had appeared as if conjured, nursing a drink and watching quietly. Thurston gave a nod. "Where did you come from?" Hovner leaned forward, elbows on the table. "Oh, I've been here for quite some time. You seemed deep in thought, and I did not want to disturb you." Thurston very abruptly said, "Tell me your interest in this. What do you expect to happen?" "Just as I don't know why I was drawn here, I also don't know what the next move is. I honestly have no expectations. I'm just a simple spectator to what I assume will be an epic drama. But despite all this magic business, there is something drawing you to somewhere else. And I am betting it has to do with a who, not a what." Thurston turned the staff in his hands, then looked towards the door. "I can't stay here forever. You are correct. There is someone I need to find." "Indeed," Hovner said, standing. "Staying would be boring, and eventually if you stay, the weight of whatever follows you will fall on those you care about here. That's how these stories tend to work." Thurston sighed. "And you? Is your intention to join me in this?" Hovner smirked. "I'm still deciding." A gust of wind rattled the shutters. Wenna appeared from the back room, drying her hands on a towel. "You're leaving, aren't you?" she asked softly. "I have seen that look on many faces that have come and gone from this inn." Thurston nodded. "Soon. Maybe not today, but soon." "Don't go without a word." He met her eyes. There was no fear in them, only understanding. "I won't," he said. The spear pulsed again. Thurston turned to the spear, saying, "You sure seem to have a lot of unhelpful input these days." Scene 6. That night, Thurston didn't sleep. The next day, Cobble sat with him outside the inn. Thurston brought him up to speed on the mysterious visitor. He also told him about his need to find Vaelira, the former queen of the Fae. Cobble acknowledged the name Vaelira. "That is a name I have not heard in a long time," Cobble said, somewhat distantly. "I need to find her. I was searching for her when I came across this village and was sidetracked." Wenna told me about the elf Hovner. "Those elves can be an unpleasant sort of folk to fall in with," Cobble told Thurston. "How so?" Thurston asked. "It is a very long story. However, in the days when our former self-proclaimed king had his sights set on conquering the world, the elves had very similar plans. Our ambitious king was better organized, and as you know, achieved the goal. The elves thought it best to side with the winning team. They did, and they became the troops and the leaders in provinces and the larger cities. The elves became untrusted and were considered as evil as the king. Making matters worse were the Dark Elves. These creatures had a love for dark magic. They became the king's enforcers and torturers. The Dark Elves contributed the most to give the race a bad name. Now that the king is dead, have the elves taken over? Thurston asked. No, replied Cobble. They mostly dispersed, attempting to go home and rebuild their own kingdom. Nobody really knows what their motives are right now. Cobble continued. You see, it's complicated. Not all elves were hungry for power. Many were sympathetic to the other races. Many of the province and city leaders were shown to be very fair and just and compassionate. In many cases, they became buffers, shielding people from the various cruelties of the king. Nothing was ever just black and white. Nothing is simple. I have no judgment on your mysterious friend, but I do advise you being careful. Elves have been known to be some of the kindest people, but have also been known to have committed some of the most horrific atrocities. Thank you for your insight, Cobble, Thurston said. I'm going to miss you and our talks, Thurston. You know I'm leaving. I knew when I sat down. You know, Wenna will miss you dearly. I will miss her too. I feel I still owe her so much. Well, what she wants, you cannot give her. Not when you love another, Cobble stated plainly. Thurston had not let himself realize the reality of the situation with himself and Wenna. Cobble stood. I will leave you to it, my friend. You have thoughts to finish and preparations to make. I am glad to have met you and to have spent some time with you. I wish you well. Cobble extended his hand for a shake. Thurston took it and shook it firmly. Later in his room, he packed what little he had into a cloth sack Wenna had sewn for him. Wenna had given him shelter, healing, and time. But he could no longer stay, or he might never leave. By dawn, he stood at the edge of the village path. The forest loomed ahead, familiar but new. Wenna stood next to him. She didn't say goodbye. Instead, she reached up and adjusted the shoulder strap on his pack. I don't know what waits for you, she said, but I hope it's worth the noise you leave behind. Thurston smiled. I never wanted to make noise. No one does, she replied. If you find eventually that there are no more beasts to pummel or maidens to rescue, there will always be room here for a man who can chop firewood and clean windows. With that, and tears in her eyes, Wenna quickly hugged Thurston and turned away and walked toward her inn. He watched her go and looked once more at the inn, the place that had offered him peace. Then he stepped forward. The runes on his staff glowed, and the wind moved around him like a breath. And just like that, the path accepted him.